100%, 100%. Because I see that for myself too. You mentioned inner child, and I think that's so true. It's like you see that version of you that would always want to do it. I think it's like getting rid of the opinions of other people. Like, you know, I've often talked about this with my friends too. It's like getting past the fear of sharing your work is getting past the fear of people's judgment of you. Because it's like you mentioned in one of your poems that you wrote recently about, I think it was the bird one, where you were talking about going south and going north, and I think at the end of the poem you said something. You have to, I'm now making you remember your own poem. but I think at the end of it you were like I realized basically that I'll have to be okay with people laughing at me, or like be okay with the judgment of other people. I getting the poem terribly wrong, but the sentiment is that the sentiment was like getting past that, kind of like letting yourself go and being free from the judgment of other people, and that's what the missing ingredient was for you to be able to express. You know, talk a little bit more about that idea of like people letting go of other people's judgment in order for them to fully be more creative. You know.
I think part of it is being. I think it's important to get to know yourself. Like, to be able to not care what other people think, you have to have conviction in your own ideas, and then so you have to figure out what you think and what you believe in first. And I think that's done by doing things probably alone for yourself. So like another part of the practical aspects of the artist way are two things. There's the morning pages and there's the artist dates. So like every week you take yourself out on a artist date and you go do something that's like for your inner child. It's like going to the movies, going for a walk, like whatever it is. So doing those kinds of things and learning more about yourself, what you like, what you don't like, and then you start to gain more confidence in what you believe in, and you get more. You're more in contact with what you actually believe in, because I think a lot of, if you and me were to, this is something I think about a lot, which is if you and me were to like have a conversation right now, and you know, if you asked me like, do you believe everything happens for a reason? Do you believe like there's a path for you to do, like a path for you? Do you believe that everything, like that good things will happen? Do you believe, or do you believe that, you know, that creativity is everywhere and all these things, like, or whatever, like whatever belief it is. We all have these beliefs that when we sit down and talk about them, we'll and we think, we're like, yeah, I believe that. But then in your day-to-day life, you don't act as if you believe that at all. And I think bridging that gap is really important. And I think doing things like, you know, being in contact with yourself and finding ways to express yourself help bridge that gap. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think it's like that for me was like, because I think whenever I go through a difficult time, that's what I have to remind myself. It's like kind of just take myself away from all that like obligations that I feel like I have to do, and kind of like bring myself back to those things that I just like doing, like visiting the poetry open mics and just going on walks. And it's always the simple stuff. It's always the stuff that, like, you know, that doesn't have any like extra things to it. It's like, oh yeah, just going to a poetry open mic, or just going for a walk in the park and just stay reading a book in the park,
listening to music,
just doing simple stuff that makes you like comfortable with just who you are. And I think it's interesting you call it artist dates, because I can see why, you know, because it is, you know, it's like you're treating yourself basically to these
you're
things.
Inner artist.
Yeah, you're inner artist, you're inner child, you know. So one thing we've also wanted to talk about was the discipline that comes with being an artist. So you mentioned about like the artist dates, taking yourself on the dates and writing every day and making sure you do it top of the day. And if you don't do it at the beginning of the day, making sure you do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
One of the things especially artists struggle with is that, you know how artists are, they're like, oh yeah, whatever, I just go with the flow, the universe tell me when to be creative, or like all of that stuff. But it's actually one important thing of being an artist is consistency and discipline. So talk to me, if you agree with that, talk to me about the idea of like discipline when it comes to creativity and when it comes to doing artistic stuff.
Well, I think that it's an important thing to, like, I currently do not, I don't make money from the art I have. So I think that's, or the art I do, I have no like pressure, like no one's telling me to do anything. I have no whether it's, I have no external obligations or or pressures as a result of it. So I think that's probably really difficult to navigate, but I don't have to. What I guess is, it is difficult sometimes. It's difficult, like say, a practical example is this week I have a stand-up. I'm doing stand-up comedy.
Let's go.
Yeah. I'm doing it for the second time ever. The first time went horribly. But I'm very excited. And I've been writing this, obviously, my set. And the process of writing that, it's interesting navigating how to do that, because at the same time that you're disciplined and you have to make sure that you're actually like, a lot of the gap is often like, I think for creative people especially, or people in general, you're like thinking about it, and you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about like, oh, I should do that, but you don't do it. So I think that's a big gap as well. But I also think, you have to be able to make something good, or something, in this case, funny, you have to live that. It's like like a lot of, I remember I read someone said, I don't even know what author this was, but it said, I wanted to be a writer, but first I had to live.
Yeah. 100%.
So it's like, you can't just, these ideas don't like come in a vacuum. So come out of a vacuum, like you're not just going to sit somewhere and like, hard knuckle and figure it out. Like you have to, your life, how you live your life, that's your art. Like, and that's like what you create is a reflection of how you live your life. 100%
agree. 100% agree.
So a lot of, I remember I was sitting in a McDonald's, because McDonald's is one of the few places where you can go and you can sit there for hours and just write, and they won't kick you out because no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
It's not like a bougie, East London coffee shop where they want to get you in and out because they're charging £4 for every coffee. So I like to go to McDonald's to write. And I was just like, it just wasn't coming out. And then there was some girls who were, they'd walked into McDonald's and they were like dancing and messing around and having a good time. And I was like, I was like, okay, I need to like go dance with them. And I need to like go do like silly shit to be able to get in the headspace to even be able to come up with something that's good. I did sort of dance with them, and this is an interesting part where it's like, a lot of times the thing that you have to do to like express or like get to the place where you have something that's worth expressing is something where you're being, it has potential to embarrass you.
Yes.
So in this case, I didn't go directly to dance with them because I was embarrassed. But as I was leaving the McDonald's, I started dancing, and they were dancing, and they were over there as well. So we like made eye contact and danced, but I didn't fully go there and like dance with them. And I probably would have written something really funny, and I didn't do it. So.
I think even the act of not doing it is also funny. Like, you thinking I'm gonna do it, and then like, actually no, I'm not gonna do it. That's also funny.
And then I walked outside the McDonald's, and I was like, okay, I should go back in there and be like, and tell them I'm gonna perform. I'm trying to do a stand-up comedy thing. Can I practice on you guys? And I didn't do it because I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And that's why. Until the day I do that, I'll never write anything good. I'm serious. But no, that kind of shit. It's like.
But no, you're 100%. I think you're right. I think what you're basically saying about like living the life before you can write about it is so true. That's a realization I made too, which changed my perspective of being just, because I think, because you said everyone's basically an artist or creative, but they don't know it. And what I struggled with at the beginning was I would try to write, but I had nothing to write about. No. You know, you've not lived the life that you want to write about.
No.
So you need to actually go and live the life. And like, that's what, it's kind of like, it kind of feeds on each other, because the more you go out there, live the life, you do crazy stuff, you meet people, the more you have to write about, then you can share with people and they go, oh my God, that's cool. Come to this thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Then it just kind of compounds and compounds, you know?
Yeah. So it's actually, I remember what I've done, what's happened a few times is I would like, I'd similarly like sit down and write, and then I'd get an idea for what I actually should be doing instead of trying to write something that's never gonna come out. Yeah.
So you mentioned writing stand-up and writing poetry. What are the similarities or differences between those two for you?